all I want from you.
I shall never
Let them fight their wedding.
I shall never let
Nobody did answer blue.
what my plan.
Good girls,
Don't let us
What my plan.
good girl,
mighty lots of.
What my plan.
good girl,
Let them fight their wedding.
What my plan.
good girl,
Nobody did answer blue.
What my plan.
good girl. Come into all.
Don't let us
What my plan.
Good girl,
mighty lots of.
What my plan.
good girl,
Let them fight their wedding.
What my plan.
good girl.
Nobody did answer blue. Did answer blue. Did answer blue.
I shall never every day desire.
I do.
I shall never every day.
Mighty lots of.
I shall never.
Let them fight their wedding.
I shall never.
Nobody did answer blue.
I shall never let.
Can twist the heart.
I shall never let stay.
Mighty lots of.
I shall never let.
Let them fight their wedding.
I shall never.
Nobody did answer blue.
What my plan.
Good girls,
Don't let us.
What my plan.
good girl,
Mighty lots of.
What my plan.
good girl,
Let them fight their wedding.
What my plan.
good girl,
Nobody did answer blue.
What my plan.
good girl. Come into all.
Don't let us.
What my plan.
Good girl,
Mighty lots of.
What my plan.
good girl,
Let them fight their wedding.
What my plan.
good girl.
Nobody did answer blue.
Breathing out, breathing in. Breathing out, breathing in. Conquer it. Breathing out, breathing in. Breathing out, breathing in.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Darachat. My name is Daramouthe, or Dara for short. And we had a little camera issue, so I had to go through the old way. So, hello, Mr. Kadath, or
Hello,
how do you say it? How do you say
Kadath.
Kadath? It sounds like it's
Kadath.
Kadath. It sounds very Oh, hey, hello.
It's
how are you?
Lovecraftian.
Oh, see, no, that's what I was trying to get at. So it sounded very Cthulhu.
It
Is
is.
what it sounded out, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh goodness, because I've had someone.
Yeah, it's actually a story behind the name, which goes back to like the Quake 2 days.
Mm.
So I actually, maybe Quake 1, I needed an online gaming handle. I didn't have really any idea, but
Mm.
I like Cthulhu mythos stuff. I have done since I was a teenager. So Unknown Kadath was what part of my favorite story, the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath.
Mm.
And so I thought, well, no one knows who I am, so I'm effectively Unknown Kadath.
Yeah. Well,
I've remained that way ever since.
no one knows that man ever. No, I've seen plenty of games made on the Cthulhu mythos, but I've never read the books myself. There is one person I had on. It's partial VTuber, partial real life person who enjoys the Cthulhu, and so their avatar is sort of Cthulhu-ish of it. But yeah,
Who was that?
Amarada,
Oh,
horror
yeah.
Amarada.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know Amarada.
Yeah, I've had her on before, and she's very into the Cthulhu mixture. But I mean, it's not something I've read into or whatever. But the games that have come out of for that, like there was Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of different ones, which just seems sort of the Lovecraftian. The Lovecraftian has a
There's loads on Steam as well. I've
Yeah.
kind of knocked together a bit of a collection of Cthulhu mythos games on Steam.
Mm,
I've got 14.
goodness sake.
There are Arkham Horror is one, Mother's Embrace. There's 4 Call of Cthulhu games going back to like the 80s
Mm,
that are on Steam as well. Some classic ones that I actually bought on physical media back then.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff because one of the reasons that happens is because it's out of copyright.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Some of the
so
games run into that issue where you can no longer download them, whether because of the licensing and whatnot. And although there's one place where they seem to be changing is GOG, GOG, because they have games there that are old arcade games, but they don't have any DRM or whatever. Once you own it, you own it.
well, I meant with regards to the IP of
Oh, yeah.
Of H.P. Lovecraft's mythos and
Yeah.
Cthulhu mythos more generally is so old that
Yeah.
it's not copyrightable. So there's
Yeah.
quite a bit of freedom to produce a one-off thing. You've got to be careful not to step on the publisher Chaosium's license, and they're pretty cool with their licensing anyway. So you can generally pick up a license from Chaosium and do an official thing. They've done lots of games licenses on Steam, for instance. But yeah, I've got my role. I'm blocking the view, but like I've got a role-playing collection. I've got 5 bays of Call of Cthulhu.
Right.
From everything that was published from the first edition.
Wow, that's old right there. That's for that's for sure.
Yeah, that's like 80s, I think, like early 80s,
early 80s,
maybe even late 70s. Some of it. I don't have like the first edition box set rules, but I've got third edition, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. But we can talk about role-playing games a bit more. You see, I'm a bit nuts for them.
So is that like sort of like the D&D stuff as well, or are you...
Yeah. So I started playing D&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, with my brothers because I was born in the 60s, grew up through the 70s and 80s, and I had 3 elder brothers.
Right.
So we all shared a room, and they were all cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from each one of them, and they all played D&D. So it was, natural for me to start playing when I was about 8, and got totally hooked. And then me and my friend group, we all started playing it constantly. Played it every weekend.
Nice.
Some school evenings when we were allowed. School lunchtimes, we even started a D&D club in school, and we just like did a daily thing in a classroom. So yeah, we even got caught up in the satanic panic and had to we went to like the local deaconess's house and ran a demo game for her to sort of show her that it wasn't all devil worship and stuff. She wasn't convinced. She wasn't convinced.
Oh, good. Well, some people you can't. No, it's funny because I've had a gentleman on, Patty's Parlor Games. He does the D&D, but he also creates his own versions of, or story sort of thing. And then I had recently Dempsey on, and he was telling me that he was playing with his friends for like over 20 years. I'm like, that's quite a long time. Jeez.
Yeah, my daughter's popped into chat as well, Matilda there.
Aw.
She was saying I introduced them to role playing with Call of Cthulhu as well.
Nice.
Actually, that was one of the better games I ran because it was set in a creepy haunted house, and the people who were playing had never played a role playing game before.
Right.
And I played like ambient music, turned the lights off, put some candles around the place, and had a few sound effects up my sleeve for it. But we got to a point where this haunting happened in a room, and literally the room felt like it went cold. Everyone's hair stood up on the back of their necks, and they all freaked out and just said, "No, we've got to stop." So that was a physical reaction running a game. That's a pretty cool effect to get.
The funny thing for me is you're just like one different song away from it being a different night. It could have
well, it was like 1920s jazz, so it was all background. just mood setting more than anything.
And then we told the scariest ghost of whatever taxes. Ooh.
It's different when you're immersed in the character and you're in that imaginary space. You're sharing it with everyone. Like a computer game's really immersive.
Yeah. It depends on.
When you're in a shared imaginary space, it's kind of like so tabletop role playing games, kind of like a shared drama, or so you're participating equally in a shared narrative, and everybody plays a role,
right?
And so you share in the victories, but you also share in like the terror and the fear. So it becomes more powerful because it's amplified by the number of people that are experiencing it, and you get this sort of feedback off everybody. So it can be a really like insightful or dramatic effect that you get from it. I've played some games like that. We're currently, with the people who now run Chaosium and edited and published the 7th edition of the game. I used to go to a lot of role-playing conventions, and there was one continuum that was every 2 years, and it was entirely Call of Cthulhu based, and it was like 2 days residential, and you could play 7 or 8 games if you were lucky.
Wow.
And we played this one game where the people that now run Call of Cthulhu used to be in a group called the Cult of Keepers. Keeper is the games master in Call of Cthulhu. So the Cult of Keepers were like 10 or 15 top-notch writers and games masters, and they would write amazing scenarios. And we played this one where we each started in a room. It was kind of like a Great Gatsby experience, where we were all characters at a party,
right?
And we had nameplates and character sheets, and things happened, esoteric things, Cthulhu things,
right,
happened, where we suddenly a bell would ring or some signal would happen, and the door would open, and one of the other games masters would come in and they would pick you up, like literally they would freeze everybody, blindfold you, take you out of the room, take you into like this lobby area, do weird shit around you, like playing weird sounds at you, turning you around so you're completely disorientated, and then they would maybe even give you clues, audio clues, because you're blindfolded, and then they would push you into another room, take the blindfold off, and you were a different incarnation of the same character. You'd maybe gender swapped, or you'd become you had different attributes and appearance. You were the same mind but in a different body with a different group of people around the same table,
right?
And it was a total mind fuck, and we had to then communicate with the other groups as people slipped from group to group. So everybody was playing one big game,
right?
And it slowly unfolded and then resolved at the end, and it was an incredible role-playing experience. I have to say, it was like top notch. So I've had some good games. Going
the extra mile to make it to make it more. Yeah, you don't. I mean, I know D&D, even with its controversies, is still pretty popular. But
I've not played it, since Advanced Dungeons and Dragons came along in like the late 70s, and my brother's got the books hot off the boat. So we had all the like early D&D scenarios from publishers like Judges Guild. We had all the TSR material and played it all. And by 1980, Call of Cthulhu was really picking up, and Warhammer fantasy roleplay came out, and that was grim, dark, violent, and it fixed a lot of the problems with Dungeons and Dragons basic rule set, which I never really got over those sort of problems. And when they brought in all these newfangled orange spines with rule books for the 2nd edition, I was kind of I'm a bit out of this, and I stopped playing D&D. We've done everything with it pretty much. I mean, I built a castle, for fuck's sake, and had a pet dragon and all sorts of shit.
Nice.
So we were looking for fresh challenges, and Call of Cthulhu and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay became my main games, and I ran campaigns in both of those for years. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I ran the Enemy Within campaign twice for different groups, which is an epic campaign. It sort of spans about 6 hardback volumes now. Actually, there's a companion for each one, so it's like 10 volumes. I've got them over there. It's about a foot long. So I ran that, not the full thing because it wasn't all published at the time, but
Right.
and unusual at the time in the 80s. The role-playing groups I ran had like a roughly equal split of boys and girls in the group, which was kind of like, at the time, the demographic was more 98% male.
Right.
So it's kind of unusual to have that many girls that are interested in it. But yeah, I guess we were the cool kids. They wanted to hang out. But, yeah.
Did you? Does that mean you've touched on the Warhammer stuff? Have you looked into that?
Not the yeah. Well, I say no, but as a games master, I'm running the role-playing game. Obviously, had access to a lot of the lore, and had to get figures for using in the role-playing games as well. So I decided to get a Skaven army because they're one of my favorite antagonists to have in the game. And as with anything that I get really into, I go nuts for it and spend far too much money on it.
Isn't that what mostly happens, where you find this thing you like, and then all of a sudden you're like, my wallet's empty.
Yeah, all the time. But yeah, I got I don't know how many points, but I built a Skaven army. I think I got everything for it, but over 3 or 4 releases. So I've got old lead Skaven figures going right up to the Abomination thing. The only thing I don't have for Skaven army is the horned rat incarnation of the demon, you know, the big archdemon for them. But shoulder's a bit knackered, to be honest. It's shoulder, elbow, and wrist. My fingers are gone numb because I played Conan. This is why I'm a bit laid up. I played Conan non-stop for 5 days. I played it from like 11 a.m. till 2 a.m. With Matilda and my son.
Yeah.
On Mr. Porkchop's servers, and we just got so into it, and I built a castle, and then I built a bunch of buildings inside the castle, and I gave myself repetitive strain injury.
That's you got to be careful of that, because otherwise like right now you end up not being able to play at all. So
well, it's more, yeah, I couldn't sleep, and most annoyingly, I couldn't roll a cigarette. So it's like the nerves stopped my fingers working. So you know, that at that point I had to go to the osteopath today, get an emergency appointment, and get beat up for a little bit, and then get this one to prevent it swapping over to this side, because I'm favoring that side. This happened before when I was playing Valheim. I played Valheim for about, well, I've got 1,000 hours in it now. So I played most of that sat at a dining table on a laptop on a sort of dining room chair, and I played it for during COVID lockdown when it came out,
right?
Just obsessively for days and days and days and days, until I developed RSI in both my hands, and I was like literally sat at the computer like this, like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, like I couldn't pick up a kettle to make a cup of tea, which for an Englishman is like basically having your throat cut.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for the English, tea is sort of the tradition. Well, because you guys drink tea almost all the time. I've been watching a YouTuber, can't remember, Flawless Cleaning Service. And the funny thing is that he's a dude with, you know, he owns a business. He owns a cleaning business sorts, where they go around, you know, brushery and all that stuff. And he's done some paying it forward to other people. So I don't know where he's stationed at or where he's done some of his places, but he's gone to some people's homes and he's done stuff for free that's been insane to watch. He's even what was it? He had a older gentleman, you know, very old gentleman, had a hole in his roof, and so he got that, helped in replacing that, cleared brushes in their yard or whatnot. And it's interesting to be able to find those kind of people to watch because it doesn't seem like there's much of them, especially
Mhm.
on the video platform, well, YouTube, but video platforms in general.
I've seen one guy who's got quite a big following. I can't remember his name, but he goes around just talking to people in different sort of communities, very close knit communities. Like I go and see the Amish and spend a weekend with them, and just get to talk to them a bit, and then I'll go and meet. I think his name's Pete Santilli. Now that I think of it,
Pete.
he's an interesting guy, and he goes and meets some really interesting people.
Yeah, and those,
I follow far too many YouTubers. I literally follow every channel I watch a video. If I'm not subscribed, I subscribe automatically.
yeah,
And like my phone keeps telling me I spend like 50 hours a week watching YouTube content.
yeah,
Because so like I'm not working right now. I used to be a professional archaeologist.
really.
And, yeah. So I'm a qualified archaeologist. Used to be a professional archaeologist for around 20 years. And also did like digital cartography, digital mapping, remote sensing, aerial photography,
Nice.
all that kind of jazz. And
The fun stuff.
yeah. So I got into a caring role with my parents in eventually, and so after my mum passed away, I just became like my dad's companion, and he's developed. So he had a stroke a few years back, which I was here for. I managed to get him to the hospital real quick, and it was a good job. I was here. You know. Actually, that was the weekend of Continuum. It's funny how that happens. That was the weekend of Continuum. I was booked to go, and I paid up, booked a hotel room and everything, and I was sick as a dog for 3 days beforehand. You know, I literally couldn't do anything. I was like, totally weak, and like, so it went on and on and on. I was like hoping I was going to feel better soon, you know, I'll be able to go. And then the morning came, and I was like, oh, if I feel better by 11, I'll be all right, and I'll get there for the afternoon and stuff.
Right.
And in the end, I was just like, no, I just got to accept I can't go. And then that point passed, and then half an hour later, I just started feeling 100% better. I was just like feeling absolutely great again. And I was like, oh God, I started to feel so much better. I was sat at the top of the garden in the sun.
Nice.
And then my dad, and this is bearing in mind, if I hadn't been struck like this, I would have been for 3 hours away, not coming back that night, not back until the following day.
Yeah.
My dad then came out into the garden waving his arm above his head. So I can't control my arm. And I just basically said, you're having a stroke, get in the fucking car. And I just floored it and drove like an insane person to the hospital.
Yeah.
And got him in there. So that, like, I think with stroke, there's a time limit, which they are able to, after which they're able to determine what kind of stroke you're having.
Yeah.
But I got him there within 15 minutes of the bleed starting, and they had him in an MRI scanner 5 minutes after we got there. So they were able to film this stroke happening live, and they were sort of like, this is really useful medical information because we've captured it all live. So thank you. Thanks for bringing him in.
Well,
thank you for saving him.
Yeah.
So he's got a bit of like manual problems. He had to retrain his speech and so forth. But the knock-on effect of that, what caused the stroke, was severe vascular congestion, and that's caused a vascular dementia. So he's really not able to look after himself anymore, and I have to, you know, run the house, do the cooking, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm around all the time, constantly. I watch 50 hours of YouTube, play a lot of computer games, and go on a lot of podcasts, and chat.
Yeah. No, of course, as I mentioned before on the thing, is that it's through Tomby that we kind of, because Tomby's had me on the Chinwag before, and you're on almost all of them. So that's the interesting factor. But
Yeah. I couldn't do last night. I was there
mhm.
literally at the start of the show, and like my arm just I had shooting pains. It felt like someone was stabbing me in the shoulder with an ice pick
Oh,
whilst trying to cut my arm up through at the elbow, and my fingertips were numb. And I was just sitting there going, "Argh!" Like, I can't do this because I'll be screaming all over you. So I'm going to
yeah,
quit now while I'm ahead.
yeah,
So I just had to bail and watch.
yeah. That's not that in any sense is not the fun stuff because
No.
but it's good. But for your dad, it's good that you got him. And for people who don't know, there is a thing called the FAST system: face,
Mhm.
arm, speech, and time. Usually, when someone starts slurring out words, you'll usually be able to tell by their face, like
Oh, they
some of
got
the, yep, like it goes
sort of
down
they
a
can't
bit.
control their face.
Yep, can't control the face, arms, all that stuff. Once you see the first signs, you're on a limited time because a stroke can, uh, well, essentially a stroke can bring you to the point either death or loss of ability, motor ability, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
once you see the signs, that's when you know you got to go. You either call or you get them there, because it is a matter
Well,
of time.
yeah, and I didn't want to wait
Mm,
for an ambulance
yeah.
to make it through to us.
Mm,
If we were delayed along the way, then I had my mobile. I would have called 999 as it is here,
yeah.
straight to the roadside. But yeah, I managed to get there and not kill anyone, which was
Yeah.
great. I didn't get a speeding ticket, so
Well, I mean, it was an
it's right in
emergency.
the middle of a residential area, so it's a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit around all of the roads around the outside of the hospital, because you don't. There's a
Yeah.
lot of sick people there, and they don't move very quick.
Get out of the way!
I just weaved.
It was like a racing game. You saw the door open. He was like, "All right, here we go."
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a bit. Yeah, I used to play Carmageddon quite a bit. Have you ever seen that game?
I've never heard of it.
Have you know? Oh, so have you ever heard of a film called Death Race 2000?
I've heard of the Death Race one. That's Quentin Tarantino, I believe.
That might be a remake. Is that a
Oh,
modern
okay.
remake? Back in the 80s,
Oh, okay.
there was a rash of road films like Gumball Rally and Death Race 2000, where you actually score points for. It's kind of a dystopian, 80s or something like that, where you would just like get points for a televised race across America, and you get points for running people over and things like that. So it's just a brain dead
Nowadays, they just
splatterfest.
yeah.
But then Carmageddon was one of the first computer games to get banned, I believe. And you basically drove a car with a massive razor blade over the roof, and there would be like 1,000 zombies. But well, originally it was planned that it would be just civilian, like people in the city, that you could just drive around this 3D city and run people over. But depending on the country you were in, they patched it so that I think the Japanese and the Germans got buzzing robots that just were like lamps that floated, so they were great, really interactive.
Oh,
I think in the UK we got it shipped with zombies, but in the US you got the full splat version with people, and there was just a patch you could just download and convert it. So yeah, Carmageddon still available on Steam. Great game.
Nice. Yeah, because that's funny because it's a lot of things where Germans or other get their stuff censored, and most of the time we don't.
Yeah.
So like for what is the game? Wolfenstein. Right? Wolfenstein, the Germans got it censored because obviously of the Nazi paraphernalia. But we didn't get that. So it's one of those things where different countries, different sort of stuff, especially with stuff like Germany or whatnot. Although I'm sure Hanayama-sama is not crying at all. So
Well, we were talking to the developer of The Great Rebellion, the game, on Ryan's podcast, Reality Based, which I'm usually on more recently. And he was saying that his game's been banned in Germany. It's not on the Steam store in Germany because the government were like, we don't want these kind of themes being spread to the populace. They might wake up and, ooh.
Yeah. And in some cases, I can understand the paraphernalia stuff, but I mean, there's gonna be a point where a country has to let it go. Of course, rest of the world may not let them forget, but I mean, because I had Smoo on, DJ Smoo on,
Mhm.
and I'd kind of mentioned that bit, or asked him something of similarity where it was trying to figure out like, what's the feeling of, because I'm pretty sure, no, getting reminded and all that stuff, and talking about, sometimes you have to kind of go past that because it's just it can hold back a country. Now I think that was Germany was one of the countries that's had a lot of issues with the migrant stuff, I believe.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just one of those weird things where it's understandable, but it's not understandable. But then again, as far as I know it to be, not we're for freedom of speech, we're really sort of the exception because you look everywhere else, and there's really not much of one, to be honest. I know, the UK, certainly the UK is having its own ordeal right now. And then of course you have France, and that has its own thing, and then other countries around there, Germany and all that stuff. It's very interesting to see how for some looking at other countries how some can take that for granted, and
Mhm.
it's I mean it's not obviously like you guys when you guys talking the chin wag like you're getting pulled over, pulled off your stream by the police because you said something wrong. No, you guys still talk, but seems like there's a limit on your guys' stuff over there, which
Yeah. Yeah. I think because we're resident in the UK, and there are certain that we don't have freedom of speech here. Like there's supposedly there's two places in the UK where freedom of speech, where there's supposedly the corner, some poets' corner, I think, in
mm,
one of the parks in London, and the other is actually on the floor of the Houses of Commons. Nobody can act on you legally if you say things on the floor of the Houses of Commons.
mhm.
So all the speech of MPs is free, but nowhere else.
Yeah,
So you have to be careful. I tend to, like back in the 2016, 2018 period, I was like quite a vocal supporter of Trump.
yeah,
And, I'd be more inclined to talk about international subjects than the UK ones, because there was a degree of, you have to watch what you say. What you
yeah,
say.
yeah, which is kind of a sadness in itself because it's a long occasion of fought over stuff, and of course we take granted stuff over here as well, so it's not like we're an exception to those things. But when it comes to just being able to speak freely, even against your own politicians of sort, it can get very restrictive, and unfortunately, uh, you hear the news on a sort of daily basis of what's happening in the UK, which is kind of well, mostly the city stuff. I'm pretty sure in the rural areas it's not as bad, but we are to the reported to the console. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's just a shame, but that's sort of up to the people of the UK themselves if they want that change. And of course, I don't know the politics of the UK.
Well,
It's different.
the thing is, you can only vote for the options that are presented to you by the system. So you're kind of hamstrung straight off. Yeah, we've got like common law and all of those various avenues you can go towards to get emancipation from the state, but it doesn't work. I mean, you can spin your life around in circles trying to sidestep
Yeah.
the system that you're born into, but it's much bigger than you, and you're not going to change it as an individual.
Right. Yeah. Individually, it's kind of difficult, but I mean, it's sort of the question that the people over there have to ask themselves, because at the end of the day, if you want something different, you gotta change for it. But a lot of people may be comfortable with what they have and where they're at, and that's a whole nother ball of wax right there in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I've done, back in my student days, I was more active in protests, and so I've seen enough of the wrangling of groups. Like the signs were the first giveaways. Like you get somewhere, and the signs turn up, and they're all printed up. They're all pre-prepared. They don't necessarily say on them what you are there to express, but they are handed out, and you are marshaled by Marxist communists into a body that represents them. And it's I saw that. I've been adjacent to and seen many weird things in life, but like the slow dawning of how manipulative the left are, and really why people used to call them the crazies. Was it the loony left?
Or lunatics, whatever you want to call them. But Tommy. That's right, Tommy. You keep talking.
Thanks, Tommy. Good to see you here.
But yeah, it's just because I know very little. I mean, I've talked to like Tommy and Abe and all them, and Jack too, obviously Jack Tarlad. But I don't. I mean, the how things are done over there for law and stuff are quite different, because it's much older, much older than the U.S. is. I mean, you got the Parliament, you've got all those things, you've got I don't know what they call that. Well, I guess it is Parliament, but they have the room with all the people in there, and just different naming for things. But it's still it's still your country to some degree, just like I'm sure those over there would say the same for us. And
yeah, we're pretty ungovernable as a group of people. The UK, the like, we're the United Kingdom, so we're 4 separate kingdoms,
yes,
who have historically been at war. We're essentially still at war, but under a truce.
Yeah, it's like
so the internal conflict between England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland is expressed in sports and just more generally in culture and so on. But that inner tension, I think, in a way, stops us overthrowing the government. Because when we get united, then literally we take over half the world.
Yeah, well, once long ago, when the empire was still young.
As Tomby says, he's starting a new movement, which is was it Magba? Tomby? No, make America Great Britain again.
Well, make because you couldn't do it'd be MGBA.
Yeah.
Migba. Yeah, it'd be difficult to do that. Or B, how would you do that? It's either BA or Britain, but
he's proposing to colonize you, so which I approve of, because I am as well.
I'd say Mucka. I just say make the United Kingdom. No, wait, no, that'd be.
I say mega. Make Earth great again.
Well,
because where America goes, then the civilized world follows.
That used to be said of the English not too long ago, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did Brexit, so that was pretty good.
Well, I mean, the history alone for you guys is, you used to rule, India, right? You used to have India. You used to have pieces of Africa. You used to have Hong Kong for a certain point.
Yeah,
and some other things, but those kind of just went away after a certain point. And
well, it kind of got converted to the Commonwealth, and then that's being sort of whittled away over time.
Hope for a major shift. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'd say good luck to you guys over there because again, if you want it to happen, you kind of have to help make it
I
happen.
think a major shift is happening now.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I've been
with
keeping a very close eye on world events since at least 2012,
mm,
and how things develop. And since the election results in the US, Trump's put together what I would consider a dream team
mm,
of people that were, people in the Democrat and Libertarian Party, like Ron Paul.
mm.
Whoever could have thought that there would be a chance of Ron Paul being in a government department, in charge of a government department, or appointed to a
Well,
cabinet overseeing
mm.
the Fed? I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, it's still possible. I know there was something of talking to Elon and Vivek for Doge,
Mhm.
so there was
Doge,
that.
yeah,
But
they were
that's
thinking.
gonna be more of Vivek and Elon in that sense because I know some people are like, well, they can't do that because it's not a department, so more like a they wouldn't be able to do it because they have Congress for departmental and stuff. But it's more an advisory thing, and I think.
Well, Ron Paul's congressman, isn't
Well, not Ron Paul isn't, but Paul Rand
he?
is.
Rand Paul, yeah, Rand
Yeah,
Paul,
yeah, and that he still is.
also fantastic. And Matt Gaetz has just been pretty much appointed as
AG.
director, is it?
Yeah.
Attorney General.
Yeah, Attorney General. Yep. Yeah, it's state.
So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the next term.
Asphalt shingles with proper protest. What is it? Boiling tar and barrels of feathers would help. Well, I mean, yeah, but or you could be like the V for Vendetta, blow up Parliament. But that's that's a different story. But yeah, it's just again, no country is perfect, unfortunately, and we have as much of our faults as other countries do, and I think with the whole Trump stuff, I think a lot of people were riding on that, and now that that's part of the case, it's now just saying through if he'll keep his word and stuff like last time. But this will be a bit more, and so whether it'll change other countries or not for their own, that's up to the people who live there, right?
Well, I think so, because there's a lot of support for
Yeah,
Trumpism
yeah.
in many countries around the world,
Mhm.
and contrary to what the mainstream media broadcast, that sentiment's real. And certainly in the Christian world, there's been a sort of real emphasis on the biblical nature of these times we're in as well. There are potential interpretations of what's happening now, which stem from the end stories in the Bible, shall we say? You
Yeah,
can spin it that way. And that's galvanized a lot of sentiment, and I would say there was some degree of pessimism, shall we say,
yeah.
about the future, about what was going to happen. And God seems to like playing Uno and have a reverse card up his sleeve constantly.
Well, there. I mean, I can't argue with that, but I think people who tried to being straight is. Come on, Dempsey, you're married. You're married. That you're calling yourself gay at that point. But no, I think kind of with the end time stuff, people have to. People do that whole sort of thing, but for me, it's sort of you're never gonna know the when. It's gonna happen when it happens out of your control. So predictions of when, whether you're using the biblical term or not, I mean, you can do that, but at the end of the day, it'll happen when it happens, and it may happen millions of years after you're gone. So don't expect it to because you saw signs of similarity. Because at the end of the day, they could have happened. Same things could have happened hundreds of years ago, and you have that same sort of situation. Yes.
Well, I think I mean that
Oh.
you could say that every generation has lived in a time which was so bad they considered it to be the end times, and what we're living through is nothing considered to like the hell of the Second World War, the First World War.
What is it? no, what was it? The stock collapse of 1929. I mean, you have
Yeah, you take your pick. It's a decade by decadal thing. Crisis is the nature of life, isn't it? It's like you stumble from one crisis to another. If you get good at it, you can duck and weave them maybe and avoid them. Not everyone can.
With your bad arm, I wouldn't try.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Your best bet is just to swing it around like a weapon and just see if it'll hit
Okay,
one.
yeah, okay, get it. It'll be dead, so I won't feel anything when it sort of smacks people.
What, the man was hitting me upside the head with his arm? What the hell? Oh, that'd be funny to watch. But yeah, I just I'm not very political by nature because I don't. It doesn't really. You can have situations where it could do something, but more times than not, you're really just putting another human being in a spot of a position of power, and how that goes for that individual is going to be very different from one person to the next.
Yeah.
Because there's the position of power has always been a thing played throughout human history. There is no kings, queens, monarchs, chieftains, you name it. There's always been someone with a sentiment of power and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, it's some things just don't change. Some things don't change as much. The technology over time changes, the civility of things change, but some things like power and people aiming for it, that's not something that's changed.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about technology, because like that actually ties back into the archaeology that I studied.
Yeah.
And like so I studied prehistory and human evolution, so the earliest period of human evolution, before hominids even evolved, before Homo sapiens evolved, before Homo erectus evolved, back to the Australopithecine. So I studied a period of around 3.5 million years of Earth's geological history, and also the place of our adoption of technology in that. So we've got sparse bone remains from the early evolution of humanity, but the stone tool technology is pretty robust stuff, and it's lasted for millions of years. And so we have quite significant amounts of statistically significant amounts of stone tools that we can look at and imply the technological duration. And also we can split stone tools up into a number of different categories, and these were type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4 technologies. And you could say that the use of silicon as a tool through flint into the computer age would give you a step into type 5 technology. And so the period of time so type 1 technology is literally when you get a cobble and you knock it at one end off to form an angle, and then you turn it around and knock the other end off to form a ridge on one end of a cobble. That is a type 1 tool. And you would like hold it in your hand and use it as a chopper, cut with it like a knife. Was and that technology was used exclusively, without any other technology that we can identify. There may have been wood technologies and possibly the use of fire as well, but that persisted for around 1.5 million years, if I recall correctly. Like 1.5 million years, where the most advanced tool on the whole planet was a rock that had been deliberately chipped twice. And then the next stage of evolution in hominids to Homo erectus, that came coincidentally with the introduction of a new type of technology, which was the bifacially flaked hand axe, which is kind of the typical Paleolithic hand axe that you would imagine if someone said, think of a stone tool that's 2 million years from a documentary or something like that. It'd be a hand axe type thing, and that's chipped on both sides. It's shaped deliberately from a core reduced down into a functional tool, and that technology persists for another 1 million years. So like 2.5 million years of our evolution before we got to something which was using intricate little components made of flint and then fitted together using other technologies like glue or hafting or wood and various other things.
Right.
So, 2.5 million years of human or our cousins, direct cousins, existence on this planet with just these basic technologies, and the graph goes up exponentially in terms of like it did with Moore's law. And so the technological revolutions happen much more quickly. Certainly as the population grows, you've got more brains thinking about stuff, and dealing with more problems and solving them. And that problem-based environment is really what's caused human evolution to sort of take off, I think, anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like the design of the universe is basically a massive problem for us every day, and eventually it's going to be an insolvable problem that will kill us.
Well, I mean, time is the one solution you haven't solved yet. So there's that too. But
I wouldn't want to either. I mean, I've got quite a philosophical view about that from the music I used to listen to when I was a kid growing up. I had my brother's vinyl collection around, and I got into sort of prog rock early on, and there were some bands that were talking about, concepts of immortality and stuff like that in extremely long rambly songs with long lyrics. And that kind of, and also the fiction I was reading as well, my brother's book collection. I went through reading a lot of 70s pulp fiction. Michael Moorcock was one that was really instrumental, and the music of Hawkwind. But basically, one song that I came across was by a band called Van de Graaff Generator, and it's called Still Life, and it lays out what life is like once you've achieved immortality, how you exist forever. 8 days function, you exist forever, and that gives you in an infinite amount of time, you can experience all things multiple times so that they become absolutely worthless, sensationless, and dull. And then you've got eternity ahead of you. So to me, extending life would be, not desirable. It would be a hell, a voluntary hell.
Right.
Because once you've taken that step, how do you undo it? You can't kill yourself. You can't, you can't delete an immortal. So how do you go back from that? I wouldn't want to give up my mortality.
I'd see it more like the how do you solve a problem like Maria sort of thing. But yeah, it is the question itself. But I think that's more individualistic because immortality is going to be different for everyone. But it's only a matter of time, sort of thing. Because
you say that, but like everyone's going to have to face eternity in that case. If it's a technological, after this so-called singularity of technology occurs, if we're able to extend life beyond the life of the body by recording the brain and the personality and experiences and preserving that in a cyber environment, and then that person's life is extended for the duration of the existence of that system rather than that body, then then you're in the realm of further technologies will come along and extend these life patterns further and further, maybe reincarnate them in further bodies going down. You don't know how far, the unimaginable things will happen in the future of technology, because we can't conceive of them yet. That's why they're unconceived.
Right.
Like it took them 1.5 million years to come up with a artistically banged rock. So but eventually it happens. Time is relentless in terms of driving change, and their evolution is a response to that. Problems come up and they must be solved, so life will find a way.
That reminds me of just Jurassic Park right there. But it's always the big question. There's been enough movies and books on that sort of thing about immortality, but the matter of it is that even if you were to be transferred into a technology of sort, it wouldn't be you in essence because it's just a copy of. There's no true way to transcend the soul to the machine. It's just not. It's
Yeah,
not
because
feasible.
you'd be lacking the biological drivers like pheromones, and we're a very complex system of
Yeah,
interrelated
bioengineering. Yeah,
interrelated systems, and they're very, like adrenaline's a very powerful drug, and
yeah,
that drives our responses in a lot of ways to threat situations. And I can't see what a digital recording of my brain responding to the same sort of situations in the same way, because you'd be lacking that the wetware
mm,
of the machine would be gone, so you'd be missing a lot. And also what's unknown or unquantifiable spiritual aspects would leave with the body but not translate into a digital environment. What are you
yeah.
going to lose?
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think that's a component that kind of because you see the movies and stuff about that sort of thing too, transference of you to the machine, but the machine is not you, and then you have all this other stuff. It's not the same.
But interesting for fiction, interesting for
Yeah,
science fiction concepts, things like that. I mean, I've read a lot of sci-fi, a lot of fantasy, a lot of horror, like Cthulhu era horror,
I think that
eldritch horror.
Eldritch horror, yeah, that's more of supernatural than anything else. But I mean, I guess,
Yeah, and even going back to like Victorian ghost stories of M.R.
yeah,
James, some of the spookiest ass stories I've ever read.
yeah,
I love short stories more than novels as well.
mm,
So,
yeah,
because they're always really condensed, pithy, sort
yeah.
of. They've been worked on as a short story. So,
Yeah. And same with like stuff like people from Edgar Allan Poe, right? He's well known
mhm.
for being his creator of horror and all that stuff. And you have those kind of people who do that as well. But I'm not much into the horror scene. I mean, I've watched a few movies that are horror-ish, but they're not really, because I was talking this with I can't remember Dempsey or whatever, but there's more horror seems to be of the gore and blood sort of stuff, right? Because
Mm.
there's some that it isn't, but for most part, it always seems that horror is always combined with like Freddy, night was it Nightmare on Elm Street? You have
Mhm.
Jason, or no, it's sorry, it's not Jason. You have Halloween. You have Crystal Lake stuff. You have all these kind of characters that rely on like the heavy gushing of blood and all
Yeah, they're
this.
kind of like score serial killer kind of horror.
Yeah.
Whereas I like the more supernatural, eldritch mystery kind of horror. They're spookier, they're more disturbing and scary. I like like Blair Witch Project. That was a really good movie. That was like the first found footage movie.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But I liked a lot of Lovecraft adaptations. So Lovecraft adaptations for horror,
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick adaptations for sci-fi.
Right.
So like Philip K. Dick's was a hugely prolific American writer, and I think he was American, might be Canadian, but I think he was American. He wrote a lot of short stories and a lot of novels. So he wrote the stories that became Minority Report,
Oh wow.
Blade Runner, Total Recall, I think The Running Man, A Scanner Darkly.
Oh wow.
Just and the list goes on as well. His work was just revolutionary. He was completely fucking nuts as well. Right?
Yeah.
Total nutbag.
Yeah. Well,
Great stuff though.
because two of those turned into movies. They both had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. So I've come here.
And Minority Report's Tom Cruise.
Yep. That was
I think
it.
A Scanner Darkly had Woody
Keanu Reeves.
Harrelson. Yeah, Keanu Reeves, Woody Harrelson, and Robert Downey Jr. in it. And they
Yeah.
filmed the whole thing, and then they went back and then they cell shaded over the whole movie.
Yep. I
They
remember
filmed it
that.
live action and then cell shaded. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great, weird story,
Mm.
but great a great version of the movie as well. It's definitely captures the book.
Yeah, what was it? Because the for Minority Report, and I remember seeing that a long time ago. It was just a weird concept of having the triplets, do their till the future. It's sort of like what they call it, future mind crime or something like that.
Future crime.
Future crime or something like that, which is sort of the weird thing of just if they haven't done it yet. I mean, you're pre-crime or whatever they call it in the movie.
Pre-crime. Yeah, it was the pre-crime in department, I think it was.
Yeah, and so that was, but it's also a great way of having those kind of sort of philosophical moments about it, because again, what would that world look like with doing pre-crime, catching somebody before they commit it? Before somebody commits a sin, you catch them, and it's like, are they still in the wrong if they have yet to commit it, right? Because there's the potential and then there's the action after. But if the potential never comes to be, then the crime itself is nothing because you stopped it before it happened. Oh, hey Bart. So that's always one that can bring up a philosophical matter, because is it still a crime if the crime has never been committed and you stopped it before the crime? So then the crime no longer exists.
There's lots of interesting situations like that in like role-playing games. There's one game called Paranoia, which is set in a dystopian future city which is run by an insane AI. So it's like, could be now pretty much, but the AI runs cloning technology, and you play a clone which has got a life expectancy of 5 minutes, maybe 10 if you're unlucky. Horrific deaths happen constantly, but then effectively you respawn because you get issued a new clone and you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
But there is a like, how is the end character the same as the beginning character, and so on, with that. So over time, the paranoia of the world and the paranoia of the AI also infects the group. Some really great role-playing games out there. And oh no, I've just remembered a story which I should tell you, really.
That's all right. Well, before we continue further, it is the top of the hour. And so what happens is at the top of the hour, some content creators, as you know, they promote themselves, at the beginning, or promote themselves and their guests at the beginning, sometimes at the end, sometimes they just kind of sporadically throughout. I kind of do it like the top of the hour of how long I've had the person on, because it's sort of a timekeeper, if you will. Because I just do it that way. So, but I did find I just put down your Twitter, X, and YouTube. But if you want to sell yourself, as the kids say, not like that though. Not like we don't need to do that. Okay, it's a little too much.
Okay, I won't prostitute myself. Well,
I said don't do that.
I'm Greg, Kadath Gaming. I've been streamer adjacent for a couple of years, and this year, working with Tomby, who built my PC, he encouraged me to set up my channel, and I kind of did it for 6 months and sucked pretty bad, to be honest. It sucked pretty bad. And so now I'm more of a content contributor to other people's channels. So I appear with Tomby and the guys on the Chinwag on a Wednesday night on Tomby's channel, Smooth's channel, and I appear on Roger Athey's reality-based show on Fridays and Sundays. Currently, and I appear anywhere else that'll have me usually. Including you.
Oh well, yeah. Well, thank you for that, because I don't just invite creator type people on. I've invited all sorts of people who don't even make content to begin with.
I'm kind of one of them now.
Well, you have sort of, but
I'm on hiatus. So I took a week off in June, and I haven't put any content out since. I've got a backlog of Zombie Army stuff that I say I'm going to edit, but haven't yet. Yeah, I'll get there. Maybe.
20 years from now. But no,
thank you, Jay. Jay said some nice things. Thank you very much, Jay.
He says you're a legend, and he's asking for that 5 back. No. No, that's pretty awesome. But yes, like I said, his whether you're on Rumble, whether on YouTube, his stuff is in the description below. So give him a check out, and if he's worth the follow, don't hesitate to give, because dude is pretty knowledgeable in some stuff. That's for sure. I didn't know you were an
I
archaeologist.
chip in. That's why I sort of go on other people's shows and then chip in stuff, because I've kind of well, I've been alive since '69.
Yeah.
My brothers were pretty into conspiracy theories, so like by about 1982, I'd already stopped playing D&D, started playing Cthulhu, Warhammer, and I was reading a whole bunch of conspiracy stuff. So by 1985, I was a full-blown conspiracy theory researcher,
Right. And
as well. And so that's led me up or down virtually every rabbit hole in the conspiracy theory landscape, to the point where I found that they all joined up in hell.
yeah. Jeez. Well, that, and you're an archaeologist too. So that's the weird part of it.
Yeah.
But and you had a question here.
I wanted to live an interesting life. So how I became an archaeologist was I remember being in middle school just before going up to high school and taking my exams, and I was
Right.
like looking out of the window, you know, freewheeling. I was doing like manual. I was cleaning up paintbrushes after an art class at the end of the day in school, and I was like, I've got to think about what I'm gonna do for my choices. So, what do I want to learn? And I was like, well, where am I now? I'm on a planet surrounded by these weird ape people, and I want to understand how I got here. So where did this civilization come from? Where did these bodies come from? What is the story behind this? So basically that led me on a big research project from the age of 12 through 2 degrees, reading about archaeology professionally,
Right.
cartography to support that, but also reading about astrophysics and cosmology, and doing a deep dive into anything that I could find
Right.
that really interests me. So like I've studied, basically tried to build a timeline from the Big Bang to my birthday, and then use that as context to observe what's going on around me, which is kind of a useful perspective. It took a long time to build, but yeah, I wouldn't give it up. I love having that 40,000 kilometer view, as my spiritual teacher would say.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And before going any further, from my end of things, whether you're on the Rumble side, whether you're on the YouTube side, if you wouldn't mind, that's right. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like, sharing stuff, or leaving a follow or a comment, any other thing that helps with any help with the engagement factor is much appreciated, because again, not only does it help me be seen more, but it also helps in also having other people on like Kadath or Tombi or Zora or so many other people. So again, whether you're on the Rumble side or whether you're on the YouTube side, any help with the engagement factor is much appreciated. And of course, down in the description below is a link to my other stuff. So Twitter X, email, got Discord as well, and my links for YouTube and Rumble are there too. So if you want to check that out, or if you'd like to take up the opportunity to find yourself, guess what? There's a link down below, or you can leave a comment in either Rumble or YouTube and go from there. So anyway, thank you all so much for that. Again, any help with the engagement and the link down below, much appreciated.
Well, thank you as well for having me on. It's I really appreciate just to be able to have a one-to-one.
Yeah,
people.
Because I when I had Abe on, it was like, I usually see Stasis talk more than any of you, and it's finally nice to hear you talk for once. And
Thanks.
yeah, and
we have that problem with Stasis.
he's all right. I haven't been able to get him on yet, but yeah, it's sort of, there's a more freaks, because I get panels and all that stuff, and Tommy does his best to kind of control you guys, even though you guys are a bunch of zoo animals, but really,
yeah.
But
Some more than others.
yeah, all right. But it's interesting when you can get people to have that opportunity to just chat, because
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of different panels. I've done panel, but I keep it small, right? You've seen a lot of people do that big panel stuff, like 8 or 9 people, and the conversation kind of gets lost sometimes because you have one person over here talking, and then you have 2 other people over here talking, and then you have people trying to do all this and that. It's a craziness. You two,
Yeah.
we are the show. Have a good one. Hey, Happy Mars, how are you doing, good sir? So,
Hey, Steve.
but when in doing this, it just allows for the freedom and flow of someone to just be able to talk. Because I can tell you what, after watching some of the Chinwag, I think it was nice. Now Abe is talking more. So that's the interesting part, where he wasn't talking as much before. He's talking now. I was like, wow, Abe, that's pretty awesome.
I think people are finding their feet as well. I mean, we're not all streamers.
Yeah.
Naturally, we're just geeks. I met Abe in person at a meetup in London for Mr. Porkchop, and that's when I met Tomby and Stasis and everyone else.
Yeah.
So so we'd all met in Mr. Porkchop's chat and hit it off, because we were all looking for that thing that Gary from Nerdrotic talks about all the time, which is the fellowship. And that was something that was sadly lacking. We of an age where we're used to having a gang of geeks around us, and that's sadly been lost. And I think that a lot of people were looking for that, especially through the pandemic and sort of after the pandemic as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've said before.
Oh, Abe.
Yeah.
Talk about Abe, and he appears in every chat.
He's stalking. Even for me, when I started doing this thing, I was just kind of messing around to see what would grab. And but my thing has been is that I'm not the greatest at conversational stuff when I started, but I didn't see a lot of content creators. Just majority of content creators, there's gaming, there's politics, there's talking about the entertainment industry and all that stuff. But there really wasn't just an outreach of just having people on to have a conversation about whatever. And of course, yes, you can get off these tangents on your show, but usually most content creators are topic strict. This is the topic they're going to talk about. It's all this stuff. And for me, I'm not constricted to that at all. I don't have to be stuck to that limit, because it is a limit and there's a good reason for it to some degree. But for me, it's just like I can go anywhere, and to also not see that content creators don't have like people who aren't creators on a majority of the time. It is sort of a difficulty too, because when you have people who are followers, right, and some may create content, some don't, but the ones who don't, there's always that fascination of, okay, so what do they think about this or that? They can agree with you, right? They can agree with you on certain things or whatever, but from their own mouth, why do they agree with you, or what, or this or that? And so to be able to get that opportunity just to talk to people in general instead of being constricted to one or other, I think is more freeing, because I can't. Once started this, with how far I've gone for the months, filling month stuff, I can't go back. There's just it's just something that keeps driving there.
You've found your niche, I think.
Yeah.
On that, it's conversations are really relatable, and everyone likes to have a conversation because that makes them feel like recognized and heard.
Yeah.
And you're giving people that opportunity to express themselves, which a lot of people don't get, in life. They don't get a chance to have the spotlight shone on them.
Yeah.
And you're doing that, so good on you.
Yeah. Well, and again, using Abe as the example, right, is where when I first started out watching you guys on the Chinwag, you barely, I'm not gonna just point to Stasis, other people are talking too, but you had a lot of people talking over, and so Abe was off quiet doing his own thing. But once I had him on, and afterwards, it's like anytime I went to the show, he's talking more, he's doing all this stuff, and I'm just like, I can't believe it. He used to just say a few words, or at least from the times I would stop by, not every time, right? I'm gonna point that out, but going from someone who didn't say a lot to going to someone saying more, that's something big that I'm like, that's awesome, right? And he doesn't have to, sure, someone like him or you don't have to, but at the end of the day, when you're able to express an idea or an opinion on a subject matter, like they talk about a movie, right, or a TV show, which I mean I can, but I really just I'd rather go wherever it goes rather than just like, okay, here's this, and this, because people torment themselves trying to watch the stuff they hate,
Mm,
which is just
yeah.
ridiculous.
I mean, I checked out of mainstream media 2 decades ago, pretty much.
Yeah,
I don't watch anything on YouTube. I don't watch live TV particularly.
yeah,
Um,
same.
my dad will have the TV on constantly, so he'll have
Mm.
the news on occasionally, and I'll spot that. But I watch, like I said before, around 50 hours of YouTube live
Yeah.
streams every week,
Yeah,
which is why I know Abe.
yeah. Oh,
So,
I'll stop by
yeah,
for
but
my.
it's great though, because YouTube's brought me into a group of people that I resonate with, you know.
Yeah,
And they all have friends who they resonate with, and it's just a snowball effect that we've
yeah.
all met people that we get on with and resonate with, and we are happy to spend time with each other, just having a chat whenever we can.
Yeah, it's building that connective piece, and part of the other reason too is that I didn't see a lot of the just a connecting. I mean, you again, you get content creators who build their circle, right? They build their circle of people, and they usually kind of keep within it to some degree, unless it's like some bigger content creator, someone that's favorite of like a book or movie or whatever that they'd like to bring on. But they sort of tend to keep within their circle, right? And for me, I don't want to be stuck. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've met a lot of great people, including yourself, but I don't want to get stuck there.
Mhm.
Because the problem that happens is that when you get stuck there, your view kind of gets you could say echo chamber maybe, but you kind of get sidelined in your own ability to go beyond the scope. And not everyone you meet or talk to, you're going to have a great conversation with. The point of the matter, though, is you challenge yourself and going beyond that, because it's about part of it is about your bias, right? What you've grown up
Yeah.
with since your parents taught you things, or what you've learned in school or whatever. When you're able to talk to the people, there are different biases you're playing with, right? The psychology of the matter. And
Mhm.
when you um and when you're able to kind of realize that maybe what I know isn't fully true, right? Doesn't matter what it is, not shaking you beyond your core, sore, of course. But when you can, because an example would be, you look on the social media aspect, right? And you see all these people doing the huge react to something said, and they get all in this defense mode and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you're just getting this like arguing back and forth of weird crap. And
Mhm.
people people let their defense bias or whatever come into play, and then not taking a step back. Got to take a step back, because all this stuff right here is just is noise at the end of the day, right? Like, you don't go to sleep looking at Twitter 24/7, although watching 50 hours of YouTube, I don't know about that, but but at the end of the day,
I blame all my friends for having such good content and being so entertaining. They just
see,
suck me in.
you're blaming on the positive man. Ghost and Machine will
Yeah.
stand together. Okay, bunch of good people having good chats. Yeah, great, awesome chats. But yeah, I like being able to reach across the way. I like not being so tied to, to subject to today's topic, right? Because that's majority of what people do. I'm grateful to even get the opportunity to speak to people like yourself, because at the end of the day, I didn't before. I didn't do that before, and
Mhm.
it's still gonna be a rough thing, right? I've come across people who it's kind of hard, but
Yeah,
hey,
people are assholes. So
not
yeah.
all, but some are. Yeah. Yeah. That's I've heard
I'm
stories like
asshole.
that.
I've I've been an asshole in my life more than once, and actually one of the best, most affecting YouTube videos I ever saw. Have you ever heard of a guy called Phil Plait, the bad astronomer?
I don't.
Was his channel?
I don't think so. I can
It
look
was a
it up
kind of
now.
science communication channel
Mhm.
in the 90s. He's probably still going.
Possibly.
He was like quite a pro skeptic, atheist channel. And I saw a TED talk by him once, and it it was basically titled "Don't Be a Dick,"
Mhm.
and it was actually really impactful to me. And it was basically saying, "Don't if you want people to listen to what you're saying,
Mhm.
don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Be nice."
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
And I
can't
was
always.
like, "Okay, yeah, I have been a dick many times." And people don't believe things that I say, so maybe I should just stop being such a dick. And that started making me deliberately be nicer, and that's brought me to where I am today. It changed my life completely. I went from being an atheist to being a Christian. I went through a phase of being like very. I went through a phase of being a vegan,
Mm.
which was not great. That was terrible.
Right.
I didn't put myself in hospital. I got signed off
Uh,
of work by a doctor after about 6-7 years of being a vegan.
yeah.
Because while I was managing a very busy cafe bar, which was also a board game cafe. So it was a cool job. I loved it. I would
Nice.
do as many shifts as I could get,
Nice.
and I'd be there until 2 a.m. cleaning the floors and scrubbing the toilets and shit. I absolutely loved it. And that I can't remember where I was going with that. I was just reminiscing about that job. What was I saying before that?
You're talking about being an a-hole. It basically was before the job thing, but before that, I wanted to read this from Tommy. The thing is,
Okay.
going back to what we were saying earlier. The thing is, we also all push each other to strive for more, to do more, to support more, to engage more. I guess you can fit more in there. For many, it's outside the comfort zone, but it's done for better. And I get that. Don't get me wrong. I get it. When I tell people about my perspective of things, I say, don't listen to me about the matter because it's not the high top of all. But my position is that I am reaching beyond the circle that gets created because, again, you can create, even though you can disagree with your friends or not, it does become a circle of an echo in itself. And of course, yeah, you can invite new people and whatnot, and then you do what you do. But for me, I'm going beyond the scope, and it's not saying I'm leaving people behind, but it's rather that I didn't see other content creators do it, or at least I wasn't following those content creators. If
Well, I mean,
doing
there are, if you think about it, I mean, if you think some of the biggest podcasts, Lex Fridman, Joe Rogan, these are one-to-one conversations, and they're long-form ones as well. And that's a great,
right.
it's a great, it's almost a podcast, put it on in the background, listen to the conversation kind of thing. Conversations could go on for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours on Joe Rogan, you know, it's not uncommon, and people lap it up.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think you've got a niche that you're able to draw on a wide group of content creators or content contributors like myself.
I have a no. My pool is far because I do majority of my stuff through Twitter X, which is how I was able to communicate you. But my pool is far and wide because I reach into the bowl of creators and non-creators.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I mean, for Joe, Joe, for what he is, he's successful in his own right, and he's done he's gone from like the early days of news radio and Fear Factor and all that stuff, and he's done his own thing with comedy and this. My thing with that though is Joe Rogan is it seems like from at least whenever I've seen him, he's always talked to people who are on a higher stance, PhD, you have scientists, you have all this stuff, and usually stuff that deals with what he wants to talk about, right? Like UFC stuff or whatever. Sorry. But
yeah, I mean, I don't watch it religiously. I think I watched the Randall Carlson, Graham Hancock.
Yeah, that's on there too.
Those ones, like all the Randall Carlson ones, were great. So I watched the Trump one when I could eventually find it.
Yeah, it's on X too, I believe. I believe they did.
Yeah, it was on X as well.
But for me, it's just that there was another person. I think Theo Vaughn is the name, and he was
the name I've heard, but I'm not.
He did a thing with Trump as well during when he was out there
campaigning.
Oh, yeah. And my thing was that at one point he talked like he had talked to like a lunch lady and a trash collector guy. I'm like, that's where I want to be the whole field. I don't want to be stuck to like one side of things. I want to be the whole field because there are, at least within, because I can only speak English at this moment. So there I I'm limited by the language I speak. But it's
We've never had a problem with just speaking English. It's fine.
Yeah, I've not neither have
Everybody
I.
else learns. Everybody knows English.
Yeah, I slur my words a bit, but that's okay. I'm not drunk. But but the point of the matter is that my pool is wide and far, and some constrict themselves to certain sections like their niches and stuff, which is fine. Yeah, there you go. Tomby says Theo is funny. Yeah, because he's very southern and all that stuff, and he was also used to do drugs as well. But for me, it's like I want the pool to be wide and open because there's so many people and there's so little time. And like you said earlier, people like being able to have that sunlight on them a little bit, right? Like it's not a spotlight, but having the sunlight, because some people feel like their life is like a sun storm or rain cloud or whatever. But just imagine, if you will, right? You can bring people back, and you have some people back on again. Like I've had Jack Tarlett on for like 10 different times now. So, and Tommy's been on a few other times. But just imagine, if you will, you are able to connect not only to a group of friends, but you're able to connect beyond the scope of that. You'll be able to connect with people you thought you would never have the opportunity to speak with. Yeah, at one point. Yeah,
it's a mysterious process how people's lives are intertwined like that. It's
yeah, I know you would, Tomby. I know you would, but no.
What Tomby does is he jumps into the spotlight, and then he's like, "Everybody, quick!" and he just grabs everybody in and sort of sticks his arm around everyone and goes,
"Yeah,
we need a wider spotlight."
Yeah, he's. I mean, for his thing, for the his creator spotlight thing, that's been pretty good. I mean, I know he said it's based off my Pay It Forward stream, but he does a lot of different other places, not just just Rumble. But
lunchtime.
Yeah, but for me, it's just I can go beyond than just another creator. I can go into people who may never thought, like a follower, right? Like say, I've talked to Happy Mars. Happy Mars is in the chat, right? He was my first Rumble rancher on Rumble, because I'm only monetized on Rumble. I'm not monetized on YouTube. I don't have.
I'm not monetized.
Yeah. But he was my first Rumble rancher, and I had him on, right? And I don't think he was creating content at the time when I had invited him on. I've had Zora. Zora's not a content creator at any point, and yet I was able to have her on and just talk about more was just talk about relationship matter, but all this other stuff too. I've Demonic Rebellion. I've had there he is, but I've had Demonic Rebellion on earlier, and he's not creating content, although he's thinking about it. And so when you can reach in that aspect, right, not just in the one cup or whatever, it's a very weird. It's a very weird thing, sure, but then at a certain point, like I got to keep going with this because there's something there, and like with me for my end, right, like this. Hold on.
I think what you're talking about is you're finding the dawning of your purpose.
Yeah, the like you're saying, the niche thing, and of course this is like the rest of my month right here, right? Like, this is the rest of my month from here, and I'm already starting to work a bit on next month as well. Although it's the holidays coming up, so there's that. Yeah. But for me, it's like I didn't see other creators.
I suspect you'll have Santa Claus on.
He declined. He said there wasn't enough money in it.
He was busy that night.
Yeah, he was.
He's full. His window the rest of the year, but that one night he wanted him.
He said he needs money. He said he needed $1 million before you think about it. But no, I didn't see other content creators doing that either. You know, yes, you kind of work within your means, right? Like I had Jaguarsworth on yesterday, and he has kids, so he can do like maybe once a week or twice a week. So you work within your means. But those who take up the content creator stuff for full time, right? And make their money and all. I just didn't see that. And it's like that's the biggest thing that can get us past this dividing division factor.
I did it for like February to June, so I did 5 months, and I found, because I started streaming by playing games on Mr. Porkchop's servers and channels, and we got on, and he added me to the stream, so I was on audio, and we met quite soon after that, up in the meetup in London. The
at the F&T thing, is it?
Yeah, the F&T meetup.
Yeah.
And so this sort of 6 months I've been joining Mr. Porkchop streams,
Nice.
which started around 9:15, kind of early, and then went to 3 on a strict sort of window. So I'll be playing during the days and then sometimes play in the evenings a couple of days a week.
Right.
Try and do an offline series with friends of mine that aren't streamers, but I started recording that Zombie Army playthrough as sort of video content,
Right.
as well as streaming content. Pretty much the same stuff, but
Right.
you know, different people.
Mm.
And I was sort of aiming to do a hardcore playthrough of the whole Zombie Army and Zombie Army 4 and all of DLC. Because the story's amazing. It's a great
Right.
game. I'm a bit of a Rebellion fanboy right now.
Now, is he sibling to Az, or is that because I thought I heard that, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law. Okay, because I remember someone had mentioned like they were related or whatever. It was like, were they like brothers or something? Well, I didn't know, because I know he's played in with Nina Infinity and Az himself, and of course, you know, X-Ray Girl and whatnot.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, and you got a question right here.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, it says, what is your favorite game?
What's my favorite game? Well, it's a role-playing game, board game, computer game.
Let's go with the computer game.
Quake 3,
Really?
probably.
Have you played the? Did you play the Doom games?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. No, so not the 2 most recent ones. I've got them. So the was it the Doom?
I think it's only like Doom 2, Doom 2,
Doom
and Doom
Eternal.
3.
No, there's Doom and Doom Eternal. The latest ones
Yes.
that I've not played. I've played a little bit at the beginning of Doom, and that was like, oh yeah, I'm going to stream Doom as a sort of solo playthrough, because that was, you know, the genre I really got into was FPS, but capture the flag.
Nice.
And Quake 1 and Quake 2. Quake 2 was the big one. I used to play in a clan on League ladders on Barry's World back in the early 90s. Most UK PC gamers will know Barry's World if they're of an age. Back in the dial-up modem days.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I used to have my first modem was a US Robotics 56K dial-up modem. That was essential for playing on online servers, and we were just using AOL discs to dial in and running up massive phone bills.
Oh God.
Constantly.
Oh yeah, that was the fun stuff.
Quake 3 was one of my favorites because I went to what was the Insomnia LAN party run by the Wireplay Gaming Service, which was a BT offshoot. So it was a spin-off, and they went, hey, everyone's into computer games, we're gonna run LANs up and down the country. So they did this first one called Insomnia, and then that became the iSeries multiplayer LAN party series after that, because they had the business, the equipment and everything, but BT were like, well, didn't make that much money, seems like a lot of hassle, we're not going to do it anymore. Canned the Wireplay dial-up service, and that was, you know, then the people that had run the infrastructure took all of that and then spun it into a new company, which was this like massive LAN party series that toured around the country, and I went to about 10 of them.
Wow.
But yeah, there was those times when I was falling asleep at 4 a.m. in a room full of computers. I fell asleep on my keyboard and then woke up with all the keys impressed in my forehead the next day. And the PC was actually pushed up against the bar.
Yeah.
In this football club. So like the monitor was pushed against the bar. I could get served just by doing that. Order from the seat, and then also I had a number where you could get pizzas delivered to your chair. So it was perfect. Those were the days.
Yeah, if you had Red Bull, you wouldn't have gone to sleep. Goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I remember being at I used to go to a private school, and there'd be times where they had, a friend would have a sleepover, and they'd be playing up at the first Xbox, right? The first Xbox that came out, they'd be playing the games multiplayer. I think I don't know when Halo became big, but I just remember playing different variety of games on that, but it wasn't Halo.
I remember before Halo was announced as an exclusive on Xbox, so Bungie were independent before Microsoft bought them, and I was playing Star Siege Tribes at the time, which was came out about the same time as Quake 3, and Star Siege Tribes was it had like the capability to have 128 player maps, 2 sides, 64 to a side. And the capture the flag games were insane, and I loved it. And we were in the Barry's World League as a tribe, for the tribes ladder and also the Quake 2 ladder, and we had a different team of players for each one. So we were kind of serious with that. Won the first league we were in, got promoted, got our best players sniped by all the other teams in that league, and then got annihilated.
Jeez.
Lost every single game, and then got booted out of the league. So the usual sports story, I guess, of teams. But it was good while it lasted, and then went on to one of those multiplayer things I was talking about, the LAN party series.
Yeah.
And we did a pickup tournament for all the tribes community people there, and our team played really, really solid and won the whole thing. So it was absolute clutch series of games as well. So fantastic. So I spent a lot of time in that community, and I've actually I bought Tribes. What's the name of the new one? I was playing it on streams earlier this year. I've got so many freaking games, can never find anything. I need a librarian.
It's so.
I can't fucking remember.
It's all right.
It's a game. It's called Tribes. You've got a jetpack,
right?
And they added a bug to the game. Well, they didn't add a bug to the game. There was a bug in the game which meant that if you were pressing jump, it disengaged the friction, and you could pick up speed going downhill, and then shoot up to the other side of the valley and take off, and then hit your jetpack, so you could go super high and super fast.
Nice.
And it was it's like capture the flag, but times 10 in every way. So amazing game, and we played that for a long, long time. I've lost my train of thought again.
No,
you have to keep track of these things, Dara.
I'm
a rambling motherfucker.
Hey, yeah, that's all right. That's what this conversation for. Is just wherever it goes. Yeah, I don't miss the 56K days or the dial-up days, because when someone was calling, you'd know one way or another.
When you were playing Quake against someone on a 128-bit ISDN line, you would see them in the server lists, like players with their connection deets, and that you could always tell that people on ISDN, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna get fucked here. They're like 4 times faster than my connection, and so you have to compete against someone who's got the technological advantage, and actually improve your gameplay. So you have to anticipate things. You've got to rely on things like map knowledge, and in Quake, what the power-up timers are. So when someone's grabbed the quad power-up, the Quake power-up, or something, or the health power-up, there's a timer on each map that you can work out a route to get back to that point to pick it up again before anyone else does. And if you've got the routes timed properly and you've got the sight lines timed properly, you can actually own it. So it's good fun. It's good to know, actually, Elon Musk was saying the other day that when he was at uni, he was one of the best Quake players in the world. So now he's one of the best Diablo players in the world.
Diablo 4, I think he said. Diablo 4 is on top 20, is what he said.
I used to play a lot of Quake mods as well, and there was a soccer mod called Kick.
Yeah.
I think PC Gamer magazine or one of those did a cover disc for it with just like chock full of Quake mods.
Mm.
And we did a LAN party where we just threw a LAN together and had a bunch of people. We said, right, we're only playing Quake mods this whole weekend and ordering pizza and drinking beer. And just the Kick game was great. It was a football pitch essentially, but you had railguns. And when you ran into a body, anyone got killed to leave a body on the pitch. There was a ball,
Yeah.
but also the bodies would score points. So you could shoot someone and then kick their body into the goal and score points. That was fucking phenomenal. We played that for days. So good. But you don't get mods like that for these games nowadays. It just seems like everything's lost.
Well, that or I mean, I know Skyrim. Skyrim's a game that's been around for quite some long time, and people have made mods up the wazoo for it.
Yeah.
Or you know, like Fallout, some Fallout games.
But what I mean is the arena shooter has died as a genre because it was too skill based.
Right.
And it's been and that was a high barrier of entry to that genre. Either you got in there and you learned and you got good, or you got in there and you got annihilated and that sucked and you didn't want to play it anymore. So there was a high skill entry level, and now they've ameliorated that skill level by putting in characters with different abilities. The characters are balanced against one another. You can, you know, play to your strengths rather than play the same level playing field. Everyone in Quake gets the same weapons. They have access to the same armor, the same power-ups. It's a level playing field in an arena shooter, and you just don't get that purity of gameplay anymore.
Well, I mean, that's
one thing that's missing in gaming now.
Well, I mean, there is something like Fortnite where there is a bit of a there is a bit of a, because I mean, there are people who play it for a long time and have gotten pretty skilled at it, and they just go in there and raise. But I mean, I kind of get it. He's with the arcade. Oh, okay. Well, there isn't very much of an arcade place anymore.
Yeah, they call it roguelite now. I realized this the other day. So, like when you're playing a game and then you get a choice between power up A, B, or C, that used to be called arcade games.
Interesting.
That was an arcade function. So it's like now I see games like Utopia Must Die, other ones like Vampire Survivors and things like that, where you get, and Noita as well as another good one, where you get these sequential power-ups, and they're called roguelike games, and I just know them as arcade games. So it's just an arcade game where you're a wizard, or it's an arcade game where you're X, Y, or Z. Yeah.
There's the I remember there was a gentleman, he's an older guy, his name is Mike. He was playing the old Dragon was it Dragon Age or Dragon Quest or so? I think it was Dragon Quest. Yeah,
the old Disney cabinet game.
Yeah, well, there's the
animated one.
Yeah, the animated one, and then there's the 3D version. There's a 3D version out there he was playing, and of course I've seen people, you know, back in the day, the animated one was so time based that if you hit it wrong, you'd be, you know, out. Of course, there's Dragon Quest, there's Space
Quest, I think.
Space something. Yeah.
But they were those two games. They were groundbreaking back in the arcade days because they were fully animated.
Yes.
Films that choose your own adventure with puzzles and challenges. That was all on a laser disc inside the cabinet that you basically navigated your way through. And there was maybe one way you could do it, but people spent a lot of money. I went down the arcades on the weekend, and there were people queuing up to play that motherfucker. Seriously, I used to go down the arcades all the time. Last time I went to an arcade was when I was like, just did it as a nostalgia trip when I was away in like Grimsby or something on the sea. I used to travel a lot around the country doing living history battle reenactments, and setting off large amounts of gunpowder. And that involved us, you know, one weekend we'd be here, there, and everywhere, and we ended up in Grimsby. We just popped into town one day, and there was arcade there. So me and my friend was just like, for old time's sake, should we just go and play some arcade games? And we went, fuck yeah. So we got on a House of the Dead 3, pumped in 20 quid each, and just played the whole game from start to finish. And it was amazing. I love those arcade. Don't get me started because I'll start collecting arcade games and I don't have room.
Yeah.
And then I need to consider how to get my shit together to get to America eventually at some point. And I'm going to have to ship a container full of crap and then put it in a storage unit that will probably end up on an auction site sometime.
Well, there's the thing is, I had a previous guest, Fragniak, on, and we were talking about arcade stuff too. And one of the things that came up is I was talking about a time. Gosh, hold on 1 second. You're out here. Bam. All right. There was there's a place in Ohio. It's called, if you ever look it up, it's called Cedar Point. And they'd have a space area where there were nothing but arcade games. You know the ones you can get tokens into and you get tickets out of and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But during the 90s, there's a really big popular game. And that game was Dance Dance Revolution. And so I remember when people would be in line droves for that. You would see these people come and be experts at this game, and many of them would flop. But there's this, there's this game that people would just line up days and days for. Oh yeah, we were talking about Quick earlier. But yeah, it was such an interesting thing because that's the game I remember most. Like for you, for like Quake and stuff, for DDR was I only played it like a few times because I was not that good. It was a bad time.
I played it again earlier this year because since Tomby put together this beast of a machine, I was like, I need to install every game in my Steam library so that I can play them whenever I want.
Yeah.
So I kept on putting hard drives in, and I would just get like, I think I've got about 12 terabytes of storage now, and it's virtually all games.
Yeah,
I've installed so much.
Yeah, same. Steam has not been. I have over 200 different games. I had to install many, but
the first stuff I got for Steam was the Orange Box.
The Orange Box, okay.
Which was, and that was to replace my retail copy of Half-Life.
Oh, okay. Did you?
And they did the Orange Box, which came with all of the various sort of Half-Life spin-offs, Team Fortress, and all that.
Did you?
And so that was the first product on Steam. So that was when I started my Steam library. I've got about 360 titles now.
Yeah, I am way too behind that. But did you ever see the new? Well, not new, but they came out with that Half-Life Alyx one a while back. The VR.
It's a virtual reality one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's.
Yeah, I think it's virtual reality.
Okay,
but I think so.
But it was a funny thing because a lot of people for Steam were wanting either another Half-Life or another Portal, right? Because those are two post Valve games.
Oh yeah.
But I think the Half-Life Alyx one kind of took people sort of by surprise in a sense because they didn't think there'd be something of it, right? And of course, it ties into the original story of.
Oh yeah, it's a spin-off.
Yeah,
but then Portal is as well.
Yeah.
And Portal 2 is a continuation of that. There's a lot of good mods for those games on Steam. There are entire, mod playthroughs for Portal and like 3 or 4 real good ones that I've seen. I keep trying to persuade Mr. Porkchop to play some classic games that he's never encountered, but he's very much of the, what's new, what's popular. A variety streamer, so occasionally they do something that's a bit off the wall or a bit older, but I just want to drag his ass through all of Aliens, not Aliens Isolation, that's what Tomby's playing, was it Fireteam Elite? I want to drag his ass through the entire campaign of Aliens Fireteam Elite. So he does with that.
What do you mean? What's wrong?
Me? I do fall asleep quite often. It is way past my bedtime, yeah.
Well,
like 10 to midnight.
Yeah, we won't be on much longer. But hey, I should ask the same thing for you because you wake up early. All right, you wake up early compared to them. Well, I mean,
thanks for popping in, Go. Yeah. I know we need to have a conversation about role playing stuff and shizzle, don't we?
Normal. He is in bed by now.
Yeah. I've made special effort to stay up tonight. I haven't even yawned. It shows that everyone else is boring me and you're entertaining.
I did not slip him off 5 for that message.
No, but what you did do was bring your show forward just to accommodate me.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, and especially because I mean, that's for the same for Jack Tarlad. It's the same for most of the UK, especially for DJ Smooth, who's in Germany, which is an hour
Yeah,
ahead
he's
of
an
you
hour ahead,
guys.
yeah.
So I know where the time factor is, right? But if it's come to like Australia, because I've had somebody on from Australia, that's a whole nother day I have to deal with. So I kind of I'm dealing with that. But with the UK stuff and all that, I can easily figure that one out because it's only 5 to 6 hours depending on because I'm on the Eastern time zone of the United States.
Well, are you right? So my fiance is in LA, so she's 8 hours difference.
Yeah,
to me.
she's
and we talk
PST.
every day.
Mhm.
Every day.
Yeah, that's
So
PST.
yeah, because we're dealing with a long distance relationship. We've both got issues in the we're both grounded in our own places right now. We've got responsibilities, is what I'm trying to say, and we can't really, up and run off to somewhere together. So we've just got to wait out and work on our plans for the future.
Yeah.
Which are that I will probably be in California. Hopefully, California's fixed by then.
Well, don't go wishing on that because you never know. And of course, if wishes were dishes, and it's almost 6 p.m. My time. Yeah, see there you go. So you're in Central Time because it's almost 7 my time. But no, for you guys for the UK, I can count that easily. I think my stream started. Well, did it? Did it start at midnight? I thought we started at the same time.
Yeah.
10 p.m.
But I pulled the age card, Abe. You're a young, thrusting young gentleman, and I was, I'm old. I'm old, Greg.
Well, that's what we'll
I've
call
got
you.
a T-shirt somewhere. Someone in the cafe got me a old Greg T-shirt. I did
Opposites.
say that I was going to appear in fancy dress at a Halloween party as old Greg from the TV show, which is not a good look.
That's all right.
And I never did. I left the job before then. So
Call you-
Greg, if you've never come across old Greg, he's a spirit that lives at the bottom of a Scottish lake.
Yeah.
Whose hair is seaweed, his face is green.
Yeah.
Black lipstick, a pink tutu.
Yeah.
Sort of spandex glitter tights and a pair of Doc Martens. And maybe a smoking jacket or something. So it's like, yeah, you got to check that out. It's a quality show.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. And Tomby says you'll be at the opposite sides of the country though, so I'm guessing he's gonna be on the East Coast. You'll be on the north south.
No, he did mention where he was going. Is it Michigan?
Well, I don't know. I personally don't know. I've never been around when he said it, so or I never asked him. So there's that. But it's interesting that you, I mean, not only him but you as well. Oh, Tennessee. He said Tennessee.
Yeah, sounds like Michigan.
That's not too. I mean, it's not too far, but it's still kind of far. But that's funny for me. That's an interesting thing for me because you guys are moving from your home country, which is the UK, and you're moving to a different country where maybe it's because of the stuff that's the rules that we have here or whatever. There's just more of a freedom, but it's very interesting because you guys have to take a longer distance, and it's going to cost you more to go across the way, across the pond, because it's a lot of stuff, I'd imagine.
Yes, yeah, and 11 hours direct flight. But what you mean shipping my life? I'm gonna have to get rid of a pile of shit. It's like,
yeah,
I've got 300 board games.
Jeez. Or you can sell them, but that's also another.
And like a lot of stuff like my stereo. Like I was like, I've got a vinyl collection and a record deck.
Right.
And like actually the amplifier I got on my 16th birthday. So I've just had it redone It's been serviced
He
and
says,
still going strong.
yeah.
And I had the record deck serviced a few years ago because it was a very expensive one.
Mm.
That was a gift, and it wasn't working anymore. So I tried to get it serviced, thinking, oh, you know what, it's going to be worth it because I'll take it to America.
Right.
So I took it in to get a quick service. It was going to be 50, 60 quid. Then the arm needed replacing, and in order to get that done, they had to mail it back to the production facility and have a technician work on it for 2 days.
Yeah.
And basically it was completely redone and then sent back to me, and it ended up costing 360 quid,
Jeez.
which I couldn't afford to pay.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, great, I can take it to America now. And they said, oh, you're going to have to get the power supply changed because it won't be compatible.
Yeah.
It won't work. And it can be converted, but then, you know, that's another £300.
Yeah. And then I've never stereo stuff. I've never done too much about it, but yeah, I just see it as a big task for you if you're wanting to do that, especially, and it's just to move to any other country, really. You know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I've never done it, so I don't know how difficult it is. So I'm ignorant, and ignorance is bliss.
Well,
So.
well, you also have someone who's going to do it themselves, so you can always ask that person.
Yeah. I mean, we're not racing because obviously I'm tied to my dad.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not rushing him into an early grave, so time will take its fine way to get there, and you know, eventually things will come into focus, no doubt.
Well, I hope I get the opportunity to meet you both in person one day, as
I'm sure.
I don't have the money to go travel outside the country. But anyway, it is getting close to the 2-hour mark, so we're gonna call it here because I've like you just said earlier, you're up late, and
yeah,
I don't want to keep you up any longer. But thank you for coming on, and of course, we'll re-promote ourselves again, and then we'll kind of go to 1 or 2 more things, and then we'll call it for the night. So
okay.
if you would like to not sell yourself but sell yourself, the floor is yours.
I can't promise to produce content on my channel, but Kadath Gaming on YouTube, and I believe I set up a Rumble channel recently. So if I do start streaming, I was planning on co-streaming to Rumble, because some of the stuff, if I did, you know, do more conversational stuff in the same vein as you're doing, some of the stuff I'd want to talk about would be outside of the usual accepted stuff that goes on YouTube, you know,
like
what
the
I mean?
conspiracy
So
stuff and all that.
Yeah, stuff like that doesn't carry very well
Yeah.
on there. So I did want to try and maybe think about doing some stuff like that in the future, but
it's up to you how you want to do it. Again, I just streamed to both places because it's a safety net. And after you hear all the stories of, you know, of course, with YouTube and Twitch, it's sort of like, why would you just stick to one platform, right? Because I
don't really intend on like monetizing the channel and being a career streamer.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask myself, what am I prepared to put into it? What do I want to get out of it? And I've found a niche where I've met enough people that seem to like me and think I've got interesting things to say, and so I can pop into their streams and just, you know, live vicariously and, you know, add content to their channels just by being there and hopefully contributing something that people find useful.
Yeah, that's that's what I was starting to try to do, at least with this, is just, you know, gaming was all right for a while, but it didn't really hit. And then when I got onto this, it really hit, and you just gotta find
it's lit a fire in you, isn't it? So you got to follow that.
Yeah, a bit of a fire, bit of obsession, whatever you want to call it. But yes, his links are down below in the description, whether you're on Rumble or YouTube. Your Twitter X is also on there as well. So if people want to just go to your on that, they can do that.
But if you want to see me regularly, I would go to Tomby's channel on Wednesdays, or Ryan Roger Athey's channel on a Friday and Sunday currently.
Yeah. Wednesday is when the Chinwag is, which you're on for that. So that's Wednesday as well. And you just had it, so that was yesterday. But for my end of things, whether you're on Rumble or whether you're on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind leaving I know it'll disappear me. If you would like a like, share the content, leave a follow or comment, anything that helps with the engagement factor is much appreciated, because again, not only does it help me being seen more, but it also helps in having other people on, like not Greg or or Kadath or Tomby or Jack Tarled or Smoo or Yarnwich or Abe or there's so many other people.
There's so many people to
So many
list.
people. So yeah, so over 100 different people I've had on. So there's that.
Yes, great,
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, it's only growing. But yes, anything that helps the engagement factor, I much appreciate. Whether it's on Rumble, whether it's on YouTube, doesn't matter. Either both, that's okay. And of course, if you want to see where all this stuff is at, there's a link down below in the description on either Rumble or YouTube. You can see my Twitter X, my email, my Discord, but it's mostly for DMing. And of course, the links for Rumble and YouTube there. Again, if you would like to take up the opportunity to come on yourself, guess what? You can either leave a comment on the Rumble YouTube side, or you can go to that link below and you can find me at my places there, and we can get started. Because at the end of the day, there are many people yet to go this month, and I'm looking forward to more. So it's just going to be an interesting time, especially when I'm starting my new thing next Saturday called Rumble Squared, which is going to be mostly on focusing on what people, issues with the people have, and then of course what people would like to see, sort of wish list stuff. It'll be more when we get there, but it's something new I want to try. But anyway, yes, tomorrow. Oh, that's right. So tomorrow is Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. I have my Pay It Forward stream. So I hope you'll join me for that. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be joined by my guest, Tiny But Fierce, or Won't Be Boxed in the Twitter X side. And so I hope you'll join me for that. It's our first time on, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I hope you see me at 7 p.m. Eastern starting. And let's have a great time and giving back to the Rumble community. And also, before we go, there's a thing I do with my guests. It's called Questions from a Hat, and about a ball hat and all that stuff. And so what happens is that you, the guests, get 2 freebies, right? And of course, if people want more out of the hat, they got to give a Rumble rant. I'm not monetizing YouTube, so sorry, guys, it's not gonna happen. So what happens is I take out 2 different questions, and we'll see how well you can answer them. There are no right or wrong answers, just maybe people will judge you, but that's a different story.
I'm used to that, don't worry.
All right, my eyes are closed. I don't see. Even if my glasses are on, I don't see. All right, so I'm reeling my hand in there, trying to feel around. Okay, I got one. Here's the first one. Here's number 1. All right, let's see what it says. It says, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Neither.
Really?
I'm an afternoon person. I function best from 2 p.m. to about 10.
2 p.m. So
that's my window.
That's 8 hours.
Before that, I'm trying to get my back working because I'm kind of recovering from a back injury. I'm 96% better from that. Okay. But mornings are real clicky and stiff. Mm-hmm. I don't do anything. I don't arrange any appointments before 2 p.m. in the afternoon because I know I'm just a shitbag in the morning. That's partly why I stopped streaming in the mornings, because I just could not. I couldn't get presentable to be in front of the camera, and got enough self-respect not to do it in my dressing gown.
save yourself a little bit of strength right there. And of course, here's number 2. Unless someone gives a Rumble rant. All right, let's see what it says. Here we go. Here we go. What's the strangest talent you have that's completely useless?
Strangest talent I have is completely useless.
Or what you believe is completely useless.
I can do a passing Jimmy Savile impersonation.
Go for it.
Which is never requested.
Go for it. Go.
And is therefore completely useless.
Well, I know. Well, then there you go. Let's hear it. If you want to, at least. I'm not going to force you.
No, I don't want it recorded. I don't want it to be my epitaph.
Oh, man. See,
No.
someone could have paid good money for that one. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the show. Of course, again, all of our stuff is down in the links below. Whether you're on the Rumble side, whether on the YouTube side, it doesn't matter. Links are down there all the same. And I post content all the same sides because honestly, I'm just building a safety net because I've had issues where so the first stream I have EG on, Eclectic Goat on, is the first stream that gets to 18 plus by YouTube.
Uh-huh.
So it's restricted to 18 plus, and so I made a new playlist that says restricted by YouTube. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna use that to my benefit. But anyway, guys.
Well, I hope I get that. I hope I get on that list.
Well, we'll have to. Well, the thing of it was before she came on. No, it was just during when she came on, but it was during the pay for stream. I was crossing someone's stream, and they were showing some sort of police action where someone got put on the ground, that sort of thing, and they considered it as violent, even though, you know, it wasn't. The first timestamp they gave me, nothing was going on. There was no violence going on. I told them, well, there's not anything going on at this time, but at this 49-minute mark, you know, the police are, you know, arresting somebody and all this stuff. And then later on, they came back with, well, at this, like at 48:58, I'm just like, really? 2 seconds off.
I think they probably went back and did a manual review just to sort of say, well, this matches the automatic review, so we'll just say it was that. And
Yeah.
Appeal it. I've been banned on Twitter more than once, and they just don't listen to your appeals.
Yeah, or
like,
they.
Well,
they...
fuck you then, buddy. I'll just make up a new account.
It's mine now. But anyway, as always, we end the show with, of course, you know, you saw the earlier stuff with Bloom, which is a take on My Fair Lady, the musical, with Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison. And Rex Harrison has been in a bunch of different movies in the past. But anyway, yeah, yep. One of the greats. But the one I do at the end of the show, every show, is One Day With You by Pogo. Hope to see you all tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern for the Pay It Forward stream. And thank you again, Mr. Kadath, for coming on. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and you're always welcome to come back. I will try to. I do try to reach out to the people I've had on before, but you know, when you're trying to get new people on, and it gets kind of difficult. But there's always going to be another time. So anyway, guys.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Me too. Anyway, guys, One Day With You by Pogo. Have a great night. See you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Here we go.